Good evening, Melbourne. Good evening, Brendan. Take two tonight. How you
Take
going?
take two. If anyone thought that this would be a smooth ride, despite the fact that weren't here last week, you are wrong. But we're here again. We're gonna try this little conversation again.
I know this is our second attempt at the intro chat this evening. We had a week off and we forgot how to go live on the internet, but
But we're
we're
here. We're
we're
here.
glad
It's
to be
better
back.
better to go live than to not go live at all.
Exactly, and it's our great pleasure to be with you this evening here, wherever you're joining us from around Melbourne. If you are joining us live, make sure you add some stuff into the comments because we like to engage with you. Mouthwash Typhoon, it's good to see you back. What's up, Brendan? Says Mouthwash. What's up with you?
What's up? Well, 2 weeks for not doing this. There's you'd think that there's a lot to catch up on, but not a whole lot. But I
No.
did do something exciting this week, which is growing. It's getting some popularity. I don't know if it's hit your radar yet, but what sparks in your mind when I say the words Among Us? Nothing? Hello?
Among Us?
Among Us. No?
No, nothing.
Okay.
Among Us.
This
Yeah,
game
Among
is
Us.
like the new hot it's the new hot game. It's like
Yeah.
I don't even okay. You know like Pokemon Go?
Yep.
Pokemon Go was like the game that got everybody out there. That's certainly not the game that would be trending in COVID. But Among Us is like a really cool online game that everyone's playing right now. I don't know if anyone's heard it.
Well, surely, after tonight, if it's not hot already, it will be hot now because you
Because,
you are
because
like
I've just said it
you are the original influencer of the young Catholic Church of Melbourne. So
It's true. Actually, you know what? I could start a Melbourne Praise Among Us like group.
okay, explain it to us. Among
Okay.
Us.
So Among Us is have you ever played Mafia or Werewolf or a Assassins?
No, no, and
Okay.
no.
You've played you've I don't know. You've played Secret Hitler or Avalon.
Yes, I
Okay.
have.
It's like that. So the idea is that your shipmates on a ship, like a spaceship,
Yeah.
and you're all crewmates and you have to do tasks around this ship. But one of you or two of you, if there's enough players, is an imposter, and they're like slowly eliminating other players around, but no one knows who the imposter is, and the crewmates need to figure out who the imposter is.
And do we play it in real life or do we play it
Well,
online?
you play it online, so you can get it on your phone or your computer, and then the idea is that you play it like with voice chat. So you'd go on Discord or Facebook or Zoom, and then You'd play on your phone, and then talk to each other and discuss who you think the imposter is.
3 years ago, I said I was never going to be a board gamer, and here am I. But now, so
Video.
maybe give me
You,
3 years, and I might jump onto this trend. Okay,
no, 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 no. Well,
I'm
I
trying to
think
catch
I
up.
think there might be enough interest in this chat that something could happen here. Anyway, I played it with a group of friends from school, and it was back. Got the crew together again, and it was very good. It was a lot
There
of
you
fun.
go.
What about
Among
you?
Us. There you go. Haven't even heard about it. Good things for me in the last couple of weeks because we had 2 weeks. Well, one thing that I did, and this is a little ironic, and I think this is going to link in with your top five a little bit, but I watched on Netflix the documentary called "The Social." Oh, now I've forgotten the
Oh
name.
yeah, no,
The
yeah.
social disturbance. No, the social dilemma.
Social dilemma.
Wow.
Oof,
And oh man, deleted Facebook off my phone very quickly. So
really?
if Among Us, I don't know about Among Us, if you know what I mean. I'm actually going through the process. I almost deleted Facebook completely, but
Wow. Yeah.
I use it for ministry and reaching people and preaching the gospel. But I had a real conflict. If you haven't seen it,
Mm.
it's the social dilemma. It really speaks about the struggles and the troubles with social media in particular, but I suppose all digital media. I was talking to someone about it today. I said they make this really sort of good point that name two groups that use the term users for their clients. And we're talking about social networks and drug addicts or drug dealers. And it's like,
Mm.
so this really outlines, I suppose, both the addictive nature of social media, but also how these we have become the commodity. We are
Mm.
the product that is being sold, not the other way around. So
And
Really, yeah.
And in it, it's really clever because they have like the three guys that are standing there, kind of the three controls almost. And what was it? One was attention, engagement, I think,
Yeah, yeah,
attention,
yeah.
engagement, and promotion.
Yeah.
And that's the three driving factors of social media, is like, what can they promote to you, like what are the ads that they can throw at you, and then how much of your attention can they get, and how much engagement of you actively working on it. And they only care about those three things.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a really, really very good kind of
Yeah, so
eye-opening.
if you haven't seen it, Social Dilemma on Netflix are well worth to see. So that was one of really positive thing for me. The other thing in the last week has been I found a new album to listen to.
Oh, what
And
happened?
it might not be new, and it's also going to show my age. We had a retreat day yesterday for young adults via Zoom, and I was called old twice by one of the young people who were there, who I also happen to know is here this evening. So this new album might just show my age, but also the fact that it's probably not new. But there's a new Matt Maher album out.
Ah,
And maybe it's not even new, but it's out, and I've just discovered it. So, and it's like a live album, so it's sort of it's like being at a concert, but not. So, just yeah, listen to that a little bit. I
is
should
there any particular song?
no, it's just like it's like all of his best stuff from all of the years together. It's like a best of album. Yeah, there you go, Jerry. Thanks for joining us tonight. Laughing faces in the com box. You must have been in the group yesterday and heard that someone called me old twice. I'm not gonna embarrass the person who did it in such a disgraceful manner. But yeah, Matt Maher, best of album. I'm trying to remember what the actual album's called, but I'll have a look in a minute and I'll share that with you. Obviously, it's been another round of the roadmap out. Or not so much roadmap out for us as people of faith at the moment. It's a pretty disappointing day for those of us living here in Melbourne and in Victoria. Did you watch the announcement, Brendan, or what was your reaction?
Yeah, I generally don't tune into the announcements. I like to catch up on all of my news on Sunday Night Live, because what better way to hear about what's important and what's actually going to impact us than getting it right here. So Father Nick, can you please fill me in?
Well, so at the end of the day, we didn't see much change at all. We go from groups of 5 outside to groups of 10. But only from 2 households. So for most parishes, that's a pretty ridiculous sort of thought. Like, what can I do? How do I control 2 households, and how do I do that fair and equitably amongst a congregation of 200, 300, 400, or in some cases like my parish here, 800. So it's just near on impossible. So it's like a gift, but it's not a gift. But also for those congregations in the country, they've moved from 10 to 20. But they're in an outdoor setting. But at the same time, pubs and restaurants have gone to 40 indoors. And at the same time, their outdoor settings have gone to 70. So even if you wanted to be comparative with outdoor to outdoor, how is 70 people outdoor at a pub safer than 20 people outdoor at a church? There's no real equality. There's no real fairness to it. And I suppose we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago, that the bishops, when we went through the bishop statement from here in the province of Victoria, who were asking, that's all we're asking for, is not special treatment, not extra treatment, but fair and equitable treatment. And it's not what we got today. So I think at this stage of the game, people of faith, people of all faiths have the right to be a little bit upset, have the right to be a little bit angry at our government, because we've been fair and reasonable all along, and we've done everything that we've been asked, and we've gone over and above. But at the moment, we're being left aside, and we're being left aside for no health reasons, if you know what I mean. It's not as if we're saying we don't want masks. It's not as if we're saying we don't want social distancing. It's not as if we're saying we want special treatment. We want fair and equal treatment. So it's pretty disappointing. So really encouraging those young people who are listening again tonight, if you haven't already, to find some time to sign the petition that has started, and it's already been presented in Parliament, but it can always be presented again if we get another 10,000. So it started from a young priest and some lay people here in Melbourne. So you can go to equalityforfaith.com.au and sign that petition. And we're really encouraging you to do that, and maybe to spread the word on your own social media and amongst your own family and friends and contacts about the importance of sort of equal and fair treatment for people of faith. Brendan, I think the thing that annoys me most is that we're asking for equal treatment, but in some ways we actually have a right to ask for unequal treatment. Because at the moment, if you know what I mean, pubs are being treated as more important to society than churches. And especially as for people of faith, churches are important. But as a society, we should at least be able to acknowledge that people who go to church get more than just a religious experience. There's a really good social, psychological, sort of human need for people to gather in communities, especially at this time. And if we can acknowledge that that's okay over a beer, how can, if you know what I mean? And again, it's like that's probably okay for groups of people in their sort of early 20s, 30s, 40s, if you know what I mean. But what about those older parishioners and those older people in our community who are probably the most isolated at the moment, who don't have the wonders of social media, who don't have, or aren't as connected through the internet and through technology? These are the people who are suffering at the moment from the opportunity to get together, and they're probably not likely to fight the crowds and go and stand in a pub and have a beer either. Like, old people don't mind a beer, but I just think we're punishing them more than anyone else at the moment. So I don't know. I'm angry.
I think, well, yeah, I mean, on the human level, it doesn't make sense. And then, but I feel like on a spiritual level, it feels like things are playing out as we would expect. Like, I don't think it's not news to us. Christ said that the world would kind of be stacked up against us. And that's exactly what we're experiencing right now, is that we're not treated equally. And despite, we're able to see through the eyes of faith that the Catholic faith and going to Mass is the most important thing, that we could do. It's the source and summit of our faith, and it's the way that we can worship God, which is what we were created to do.
Yeah.
So for us to not be able to have access to that, but for people to be able to go to a pub, or, like the footy's still on, like I think it really shows where the world's priorities are right now. And so it's so important for us as Catholics to, on the human side, absolutely, we can see how it's unfair, but just being able to see through it with spiritual eyes and realizing that, like, we're in a battle here, like we're in a spiritual battle that we need to be praying hard for, and consider fasting for as well.
Yeah, and we see it in the gospel for this weekend's Mass, where Jesus gives us the example of his question by the Pharisees who are trying to trip him up about what do we owe to Caesar and what do we owe to God. And I suppose we see in a very particular way, Jesus reminds us that whilst we owe things to Caesar or to human authority, that human authority is not above reproach. That human authority is just that. It is flawed, and it can err, and it can be wrong. So we're reminded in the gospel this weekend about checking where our heart lies. And if we put all of our trust and all of our hope and all of our heart and soul in an earthly reality, we're always going to be disappointed. We're always going to fail. But we're reminded that it's God whose kingship is eternal, and it's God where all authority lies. Even the authority that is given to people on earth is a sharing in the authority of God. So even whilst we live as citizens of this earth, we must keep our eyes fixed on the earth, on the heavenly kingdom. And this weekend we celebrate 10 years of the canonization of St. Mary of the Cross M'Killoch. And there's her famous line, we're but pilgrims here, if you know what I mean. We're moving through this earth. So if nothing else, this past week, and I suppose the anger at the decisions that are made, is a reminder to us that we can't, whilst we have a responsibility to be faithful citizens and to do what is right and just in this world, we can't put all of our hopes in this world, because we're always going to be disappointed. We're always going to be let down. It's always going to pass. But we must sort of set our hearts on the world that is to come, on the life that is to come.
Yeah, amen. And Tina's put in the comments like that it is that what you have is righteous anger, and I think that's such a good point to point out, is that right now as Catholics, I think we should be angry. I think there's a righteous anger that needs to be kind of bubbling inside, because we can it's clear now, like the inequality is clear, and the discrimination that's been put against us is clear, and I think that righteous anger is a good thing to have, but it's so important that we recognize it and then direct it in a productive fashion.
Yeah. So just a reminder, if you didn't get it, and the details are in the com box, www.equalityforfaith.com.au. It'd be really great if we could spread the word on this petition and get it out there. But without any further ado, it is that time of the week that everybody looks forward to, and that is Brendan's top 5. Brendan, what have you got for us this week? Your top 5 what?
Well, we mentioned it a couple of weeks back, and it's kind of fitting that we're doing this considering we didn't have a podcast last week. We didn't have a show last week. But this week is top 5 podcast tips. Or really, to be honest, like I don't think that I'm in any position to be giving podcast tips to anyone. But these are the top 5 things that I feel like I've learned over the last. Oh, how many episodes are we on now? 28?
I think this is 28. We sort of skipped. Well, we skipped a couple. We broke the internet, and the internet broke
30
us.
weeks. Okay, over 30 weeks.
The last 30 weeks.
The last 30 weeks, this is what I've learned. So I'm going to kick into it. Number 5 was the first thing that I learned. This was the first little bit of feedback that I got after the first show, which I was so nervous about. Like, watching back over the first episode, I'm like, I don't know if you've done that yet, but
no, I don't watch back because I don't want to sort of be depressed.
No, it's very encouraging actually. Like, I'm like, wow, I've come a distance. Like, I can talk now, as opposed to just like kind of giggling on camera. This was the first little advice that I got was avoid active listening.
Avoid active listening.
Which is that when someone's talking, you know, when you're actively listening to someone, you're like, yeah. Yeah, amen.
I think I gave you this advice, didn't I?
Maybe you did. I'm not sure. Maybe you did, or maybe no. I distinctly remember a family member watching over, and they're like, "Bro," it was my brother actually. He's like, "Bro, don't do that," because it's annoying. Because if you have a little bit of lag, your comes in halfway through when they're talking about something.
And we did have a bit of lag early on. We have
things that improve. Maybe I could go back to the active listening, but also it's good because then if you do say amen or something, then you can start talking.
Yeah,
it's just one of those things of doing. Then that being said, though, how much nicer is it doing it in person?
Yeah,
a couple of episodes.
And well, like maybe by the 1st of November, we may be back in the same space.
Who knows? Well, hold on.
25 Ks. Yeah.
Where can we meet? I think we'll both have to swim over the Port Phillip Bay to.
And then sort of sit in a park. Okay, we'll work it out. Yep. Okay, so that's number 5. Avoid active listening. Number 4.
Avoid active listening. Number 4 is look at the camera when doing the show.
Wow, these are really sort of basic, but yeah, go for
these
it.
Are
number
basic.
4.
Because I'm gonna now demonstrate. If I start looking down here, it's not very engaging for the listeners. So you guys might not know this, but I literally don't look at Father Nick's face the whole time. I'm staring at this nice little circle.
You're staring at yourself.
Huh?
You're looking at yourself, aren't you?
No. Well, I don't have a mirror. It's a little camera.
Oh, yeah. But what's on the screen in front of you?
I've got you.
Oh.
I've got our guest who's patiently waiting. And I see me up in the top little corner. And now at the bottom right here, I've got the comments of everyone. But I remember, I can't remember what episode it was. I think we were talking to, it was the teacher from Sydney, I think. Who was it?
Tim from Coffs Harbour.
We were talking to Tim, and Father Nick slips me a piece of paper, and he's like, because we were doing this in person at the time. He's
I do remember this one, yeah.
And the piece of paper said, "You look really shifty for not looking at the camera." And I look at it, and I look up, And I just look at him. I'm like, we're halfway through the show here, and I look back over, and my eyes are literally going absolutely everywhere. So that's tip number 4: is look at the camera.
Okay, number 3.
Number 3 is have a segment, like have a basic format. Because again, if you watch back over our first couple of episodes before. No, real. I mean, we were learning. So, but if you have a basic segment, like things that you can chuck in, like our basic segment is what, like a little intro, and then we talk about, news or whatever's come up, and then we talk about the gospel. Oh, have we spoken about the gospel yet?
Yeah,
I don't know.
skipped the order up tonight.
Chuck that in, and then the guest at the end. But just having something basic that you can kind of chuck in and out makes it a lot easier, because it's hard coming up with a brand new show every time.
Trident Animation, who is a great fan of this segment, Brendan, each week says we're close to the bottom of the shallow barrel of ideas. We're going to need to bore through the bottom.
Oh, no, but really exciting update on that, Trident. Thanks for your comments. Last week, I recommended in Brendan's top 5 that number 5, because I gave a top 5 just because we were still missing, and I was like, got to give these guys something to do. Not that you really needed anything, but number 5 was to send me an email with top 5 ideas, and we had Ashley send in a list of like 30 top 5s.
So we've got a whole year in front of us now.
No, seriously, these are some good ones. We've got top 5. I won't read them out. I'll do a bit of an audit, and then.
Okay, so have a segment. Don't active listen. Look at the camera. Have a segment. Number 2.
Number 2 is. This is a bit sweet. You don't have. This is obvious too. You don't have to be amazing to start, and you don't need to be a very fluid speaker, because honestly, with experience, it gets a lot easier, and it becomes a lot more fun. But if you it's the sort of thing. If you want to start a podcast,
just do it. Just jump in. 2 hours notice and get going.
Just do it.
2 hours notice and the inability to do anything else on a Sunday night, which is a bit helpful.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's right. And was there anything else to this? Well, and also, actually, that's probably mixing 2 in 1. But also, don't be worried about how many people are watching as well.
Oh, see, that's mine. You stole mine.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Don't look at the viewer count.
I'll let you speak into why that is. But number one is don't overthink the content. Like. I
don't think we'll ever be threatened. For
I don't think anyone's. Yeah, that's right. No one's ever messaged me saying you look a little bit too prepared, Brendan.
Yeah, exactly.
You look like you're reading off a script. Like, if anything,
maybe you should think about leaving your notes in the kitchen one night and having to dart out halfway through a live podcast to pick them up. Like,
yeah, that's true. Okay, that would be on the. If it was a top 10 list, that would be number 6. So just have your notes with you. But yeah, like I think if it's something that you're interested in, like your Brendan's top 5 or the gospel message, like I think a lot of it will flow, will kind of come from the heart, and you get better at doing it. So, and it kind of comes across as more natural for a podcast as opposed to reading off a script, which you can kind of tell when people do that, and it doesn't come across quite as naturally, I think.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I had 2. The first was. Yours. Stop looking at the viewer count, and I think those first couple, like we got a little bit sort of hung up by it, and now it's just like I don't even have it on the screen anymore. So if there's anyone listening tonight, we're really glad you're listening. If there's no one listening, well, we don't know. So there was that whole one where we did like whole half episode and we realised we weren't even on the internet anymore. And I think number 1 would be have fun. And do it with someone whose company you enjoy.
Oh, that's really sweet.
Bless, hey.
That's wow. Thank you. That's not. Why did you call me?
I'm still looking for someone. There was that one episode with John Florio, if you know what I mean. I really enjoyed that.
No, that's why you get the guests in each time. It's
exactly.
Like, I've got through 20 minutes of Brendan now.
If I have to talk with Brendan any longer, it's gonna kill me. But I think the other one, and this is a really great segue. Oh, that might be the other one. Have good segues, if you know what I mean. Oof, have segues between your.
I've got to say, Father Nick, you're very good at your segues, and I won't talk too much about that because I knew you were perfectly lining up a segue.
Exactly, you're about to ruin my segue. The other one I think would be entrust your podcast to a couple of patron saints. and we've entrusted this to a few. St. Michael the Archangel, who swings around a little bit. Obviously St. John Paul II, the Venerable Fulton Sheen. But more recently, especially Thursday Night Praise, Joe Mellum and I have been turning to Blessed Carlo Acutis. And last Thursday, we'd had problems with the internet all afternoon, and we'd used the podcast studio on the Wednesday for a thing for the diocese, and it just died halfway through. But we went live to YouTube and Facebook, and there wasn't a problem, and it was because we'd dedicated it to Blessed Carlo. So there's the segue, because we're really glad to have with us tonight 6-year seminarian for the Archdiocese of Darwin, the Diocese of Darwin, Dean Taberdo, who is a world-renowned scholar on one of the church's new blesseds. Good evening, Dean. Thanks for joining.
Dean.
Praise be Jesus Christ. Good evening, Father Nick and Brendan and everyone with us.
Thanks for being with us. Before we get to Blessed Carlo, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're here in the seminary in Melbourne, but you're from the Darwin Diocese. How does that work?
Yep, well, at the moment, I'm the only seminarian for the Diocese of Darwin. I'm in my 6th year now, so yeah, since 2014, I've been discerning for the diocese. And what else can I say about that? Yeah, it's very different being here compared to being back home in the north.
So there's no seminary in Darwin, obviously, so that's why you've been sent down to the beautiful climate of Melbourne.
Yep. So all of us seminarians at the moment of the province of Adelaide, which is Adelaide, Port Pirie, and Darwin, we're all here in Corpus Christi in Carlton.
Wonderful. And so you've been here for 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about your journey into the seminary. So you came to Australia when you were 8 years old, is that right?
No. I was 15 when
there we go.
we came to Australia, yep. Together with my mother and my younger brother, because Dad has been in the Northern Territory already working a few years prior to that. So that meant for me leaving a high school seminary in the Philippines, which I entered at age 11. And had to start a new life in Australia, had to get in touch with normal high school life here. Started year 10, went through to year 12, and then picked my own, I suppose, first part-time job 1 month after arriving in Australia, which was flipping burgers for Hungry Jack's.
Good on
That's
you.
That's not a shout out to them, though.
We're looking for sponsors, so if the burgers are better at Hungry Jack's.
The burgers are better at Hungry
The
Jack's.
Hungry Jack's chips came high on our list of takeaway chips, I'm pretty sure. But so Dean, when was the first time you sort of felt a call to the priesthood?
Very interesting question. I've always felt it since my childhood. My parents would recount to me that I think the earliest they heard me talk about the priesthood was when I was 6 years old. So I've always been sort of in tune with that. I love prayer. I love discussing the saints. Very much in love with the Blessed Virgin. And so that never really left me up until, even when I came to Australia, having to go through a different life altogether, that still stayed with me.
What's seminary life been like this year? Obviously, lockdown, things have been a little bit different. How has it been different this year to any other year?
Very different. First of all, we're usually a house of 50 here, and our priest and staff. But this year, everyone had to be staying at home or back to their dioceses, and so there was just a very small remnant of us left here in the seminary. The very first few months of lockdown were a bit difficult because we are so used to going to Catholic Theological College for our lectures. We're so used to just getting out of here, go to Woolies to buy our own groceries, or go to some coffee shops, I suppose, in Lygon Street.
I was going to say that you reference Catholic Theological College, but if you're not local to Melbourne or you've never visited the seminary here, it's quite it's quite a good position just off Lygon Street. So as much time as students spend in theological lectures and in the chapel, there's also the advantage of being pretty close to a good array of Melbourne's coffee shops. So I can imagine it's been a pretty different experience, sort of being sort of housebound and not being able to get out as much as you used to. Have you been home to Darwin since this has all broken out?
Haven't been home since January, so I very much miss home and our people in the diocese.
What are the people of Darwin saying about the people of Melbourne at the moment? Like, what do your family think? Because Darwin's got pretty much normal life, don't they?
Yeah. Every now and then when I get a message from home or from people in the diocese, it's always, I suppose, prefaced or ended with, stay safe there, keep safe there, stay at home.
Yeah. So they're not pitying us too much.
Not much. No, I think they're feeling very, very sorry for us and wishing that we'd also be back to normal as they are.
Yeah. A couple of years back, you did your pastoral year in Alice Springs.
I did.
Can you tell us a little bit like what that was like? Sort of how what's the difference, I suppose, between a parish here in Melbourne that you might have visited and a parish in Alice Springs?
Yeah. Well, first of all, 2018 that year was very different. I was going to spend the whole year in the parish of Alice Springs, a place I've never been to, and very different in that I wasn't expecting that there was going to be so much happening in that parish because I've never been there before, but there was so much activity. There was so many people involved, and I loved being in the parish, and of course, one of the main things about our ministry in the Diocese of Darwin is, of course, our ministry to our Aboriginal brothers and sisters. So there was a lot of work and time spent with them during that time.
Beautiful. Dean, we've got you on tonight to speak about Blessed Carlo. When did you first hear about him?
I first heard about him in the summer of 2016. That break between the first and the second year of seminary. And what else does a seminarian do but just procrastinate on the internet? And it was a particular day I was doing a bit of my own research about a certain Eucharistic miracle, which is in Lanciano in Italy. And I was looking for more because I wanted to, I suppose, confirm what I'm reading in some blogs. And then I stumbled into a certain website called The Miracles of the Eucharist. So I kept scrolling and I said, oh, and there's more. And one link, one story of a miracle just led to another. And then towards the end, I discovered that this was built by a young person who's now departed at that time, was dead at that time, by the name of Carlo Acutis. And finding out a little bit later as well that he's a candidate for the sainthood during that time.
And we're obviously talking about him because last weekend in Assisi, and you were supposed to be our guest last Sunday before we broke the internet for the second time, and it was going to be the day after his beatification in Assisi, but also people would have seen on social media recently the revealing of his tomb as part of that process. And that's right, I saw that you've obviously got a devotion to Blessed Carlo and a great love for him. How has that grown, I suppose? So you discovered that he created this website, and then what?
Yeah, and then, going back to the beatification, I remember, taking a recording, I suppose, a video of the opening of his tomb. And that broke my Facebook because it just kept sharing and getting liked and all of that. A shout out to a priest of the Archdiocese of Melbourne for asking me to make it shareable. So, back to my devotion to Carlo Acutis, after looking at that website, I decided to join the Association of the Friends of Carlo Acutis, and I still have here the the original packet where we call this the books and the paraphernalia and the relic came in, which I received here in the seminary a few months after I found out about him. And this time, obviously, after his beatification and the lead up to it, has been quite a high, a hyped up time, especially because of the cause of Carlo Acutis raises a lot of questions, especially among young people, and the path of holiness that is possible for all of us.
And I suppose it is one of these things that we really learned from St. John Paul II in his desire to canonize saints, or beatify at least a number, as a way of helping young people in particular realize that saints aren't just things from the olden days or from the past, and whilst the church has this great treasure of the saints, but that sanctity and the call to be a saint is something that each one of us can achieve. And I suppose in Blessed Carlo we see, I remember reading one post that spoke about the fact that the first saint to be depicted in sneakers and a hoodie, or like a football jumper. But what does it mean to you, I suppose, to have a young man, a saint, sort of he was born just a few years before you?
Yeah, it means a lot to me. I was just thinking that in the first 11 years of my life, I was existing in one part of the world, and so was he. And the fact that I am living in a time of saints as well, and throughout the past few decades, centuries as well, God has been gifting the church with young saints. There's so many of them. I remember the Dominican sisters that you invited last time. They were talking about a young venerable, Mateo Farina. There's so many examples of holiness being gifted to us. Personally, it means to me that in my current and future ministry as a seminarian and priest in the future, is that I can have this model of holiness that I could present to young people who I'll be ministering to during that time, and be able to say that, look, with everything that's happening around us, it is possible for us to have this certain Catholic piety, this closeness to God, closeness to Our Lady, using whatever means we have to bring souls to God and to be of service to others.
So, Brendan, I want to bring you in here because I want to play a really quick game, and we're going to call it Saint Bingo, okay? So the two of you can play. The first person to answer and get closest to the age.
Oh, no. I think Dean's better at this than me, but we'll give it a shot.
Here we go. The age Mary MacKillop was when she founded the Josephites.
16.
Dean?
25.
25. Ding, ding, ding. Give the 1 point to Dean. There we go.
That's a guess.
The age Mother Teresa of Calcutta was when she moved to India.
70. Sorry.
18.
18. Bang. That's 2 for Dean.
Wait, hold on.
0 for Brendan.
How old was she? 15.
18 when she moved to India.
I'm guessing here.
Are you kidding?
The age...
No, I'm not.
The age John Paul II was when he was ordained a priest.
26.
Oh, there we go. That's 1 point for Brendan.
I did some quick maths there. 19 plus 7 equals 26.
2 for Dean, 1 for Brendan. Here we go. We've got 4 more to go.
Oh, gee.
The age Francis Xavier was when he joined the Jesuits.
I should know this.
17.
23.
23.
What? No way.
Is it actually 23?
This is the new game. This is Brendan's top 5. This is the new segment. This is great. 23. Okay. So now it gets a little bit more somber. So we've got 3 to go. So Brendan, you're still in this if you win all 3 of these.
I'm sorry. That's pretty impressive. We
The
get
age
every time. Sorry, go on.
The age Pier Giorgio Frassati was when he died.
Brendan, you have to know this.
21.
28.
No.
Oh, well.
Brendan?
I might hot or cold.
Well, it's in between 21 and 28.
24.
24. There
Oh.
we go. The age St. Teresa of Lisieux was when she died.
24.
24. That's for Dean. And the age Blessed Carlo was when he died.
15.
Oh, 15. There we go.
I was waiting for that one.
I think Dean gets that, but I looked up some of these the other day for another talk that I was giving, but just that real reminder, if you know what I mean, that sanctity, we don't wait till we're old to be saints, if you know what I mean. The church has this great treasury of young saints, young people who have given their youth to the church and who have really sort of set out on sanctity early in life, and we don't have to wait for that. In the homily for the beatification, the cardinal mentioned that one of the lines of Blessed Carlo was always to be united with Christ. This is my life program. He said at age 7. That's like, whoa, I don't think I was forming complete sentences when I was 7. So,
Life program, like that's like computer. Dude, he's like already on the tech.
so Dean, what are the things about his life? So he obviously created this great website. Anything else that we can aspire for?
Yeah, he actually created 2 websites. The other one is a website on the apparitions of Our Lady around the world, which is a project that he started, but unfortunately he wasn't able to finish because of his death due to leukemia. I think it was a 5-day agony, and he's offered his sufferings for the Pope in the Church during that short time. Those were some of his last words. I am offering what I am about to suffer for the Pope and for the Church, which I think teaches us a lot about even us young ones need to cultivate within ourselves, a love for the successor of Peter and for the universal church, which is the family that we belong to, the family of the faithful around the world. And I suppose for us here in Melbourne, it's to feel for and to pray for our fellow Catholics who at the moment are still not able to assemble for the Eucharist. And just thinking to mind now of some of the martyrs from our tradition, who at one point when they were being tried said that, well, without this thing of the Lord, this Eucharist, we cannot exist. And for Carlo Acutis, that was very much true. He said that the Eucharist, it was the center of his life. His mother recounts to us that he was a daily mass goer from his first communion, which was at 7.
And I think I read somewhere that his parents weren't practicing their faith.
They were not. So he led them back to God. He even led their, you call this, a man who was working for them as his nanny and their housekeeper, a man called Rajesh, who was of the Hindu religion. And he was so impressed by the witness of Carlo that he decided to become a Catholic.
Wow. Wow.
There was
a bit of controversy when they opened the tomb about whether or not he was incorrupt. And I read a few things afterwards. What was the wash up of that in the end?
I think in the end it was said that the body is not incorrupt, but the body is some sort of intact. The organs are intact. In fact, they were able to extract the heart of Carlo Acutis, and that was the relic that was brought forward for the ceremony of beatification, which was brought along by his parents during the time of the rite.
But there was that sort of age-old question, because I suppose especially obviously through the wonders of the internet, there was all this great imagery of his face. And he looked very peaceful and serene, and I think everybody automatically assumed or jumped to the conclusion that he was incorrupt. But
so did I.
But they issued a little bit of a clarification afterwards and said, but in particular, because he died of a brain hemorrhage, wasn't it, in the end?
Brain hemorrhage, it was an effect of the leukemia, a very violent kind of leukemia, actually.
Yeah. So, one of the other things that the cardinal said in the beatification was that he showed that faith does not distance us from life, but it rather deeply immerses us in it, indicating for us the concrete path to live the joy of the gospel. It's up to us to follow him, attracted by the fascinating experience, so that our lives can shine with life and hope. So again, it's that great reminder that the whole cult of the saints for us as Catholics is there to lead us all closer to Christ. That we venerate the saints because they were people who knew Christ. And they were people who were united with Christ on earth, and therefore we trust that they're now united with him in heaven, and they set for us a fine example to follow. Dean, you're heading on for ordination next year. Is there any advice that you, hopefully, God willing, and all those things that we say to a guy who's preparing for seminary, is there any advice you give to a young person who's discerning their vocation at the moment?
A small piece of advice, I suppose, is to take advantage of this time that we have during this pandemic, when everything is sort of a bit more quiet, to take the time to pray and to consider where God may be calling you, whether that's to priesthood, to religious life, or to married life, and to be a bit like Carlo, to be not afraid to give your all to God, to make him the priority, and to look for a good priest that can guide you in this journey. Yeah.
Beautiful. Dean, we've been asking all of our guests over the last 30 weeks now. Was there something, or is there something that you've learned about yourself during lockdown that you're going to try and sort of keep up once we're allowed out and back to whatever normal looks like on the other side of this?
What I've learned about myself is that, that I have the capacity for baking, actually.
Ah,
That's what we've been here in the seminary during this lockdown. We've put ourselves into some kind of a roster for Sundays. So we're cooking for whoever's left here, priests and seminarians. And at some point I was able to come up with something decent for dessert. So I might, keep on
wow,
building on that.
a good skill to take into parish life. So thank you very much for joining us this evening and sharing a little bit about your own experience, but also your love for Blessed Carlo. And be assured of our prayers and pass on our prayers to all the other seminarians and those who are preparing for priesthood at Corpus Christi at the moment. It's been a challenging time for all of you, so be assured of our prayers as well.
Thank you for having me. God bless.
Cheers. God bless.
God bless, Dean.
Thanks, Brendan. We're almost out of time. Any tips or pointers as to what our top 5 is going to be next week?
Oh, no, I'm going to have to do a good look through this list, but I can assure you it will be enjoyable, and it won't be me scraping the bottom of the barrel. It will be the best one I can pick from the lot here, which there's a lot. So
beautiful. Just I suppose a shout out that this coming Thursday is the feast of St. John Paul II. So just really encouraging you to join us here live on Melbourne Praise at 6:30 p.m. for a special Thursday night praise as we gather to pray the Rosary, and really praying at this time for the church here in Melbourne and for the fair and equitable treatment of all people of faith. So that it will be this Thursday night, the 22nd of October, and there'll be some more details about that coming out in the days ahead about how you might like to, especially as the young people of Melbourne, in a very COVID-safe manner, join us with that. So we're thinking about the fact that you might want to, even if your church is closed at the moment and locked, you might want to get together with one or two other people and pray quietly and privately outside your church at 6:30, and join us obviously through your phone or tablet or another way of joining us that way. So that's this coming Thursday, but there'll be more information on social media over the next couple of days available for that. But a great feast for us as young people, the feast of St. John Paul II, but also a great feast, I suppose, because he was a great man who understood what it was like to live under oppression and to live where a church was in its own ways sort of persecuted or not treated fairly by the government of his time. So a really valuable intercessor for us, but obviously also had a great devotion in his own life to the Blessed Virgin Mary. So we turn to her in a particular way. Otherwise, make sure you follow us on facebook.com/Melbourne Praise. And also, if you don't already, you can subscribe to the podcast through melbournepraise.podbean.com or find us on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts. Make sure you spread the word and share it around, so that we say that we don't look at the download count, which we don't with any regularity, but we are really hoping that it's serving a little bit of purpose to keep young Catholics connected together at this time. Anything exciting in the week ahead, Brendan?
Look, it'll be another week in lockdown. Another week of I'm getting into the guitar.
Okay.
Not that I'm already been getting into the guitar. I play it quite a bit, but the cello sits there and the guitar sits there, and I like the look of the cello. I'm thinking actually I might. It's shocking, but I might list this cello up on our Facebook Marketplace to purchase a nice guitar.
Your COVID resolution has come full circle.
It's come full circle, so we'll see. Maybe by the last episode of this year, I might have a nice guitar and I might be able to play something for everyone. That would be nice.
Cheers. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for those of you who joined us live and contributed in the combox. We hope you had a good night. Otherwise, we'll be back Thursday night at 6:30 for the special Holy Rosary and Thursday night praise. And otherwise, back next Sunday night at 8, live here from Melbourne. Good night. God bless.
Night, Father.